Testing 1, 2. So I'm trying this going live thing, the smooth jazz saxophone lessons. Didn't too much prepare for this besides to answer a couple of questions that were coming to me from my smooth jazz saxophone lessons page in Facebook. So I figured I would address a couple of those questions and see who gets on. And if nobody gets on, then I'll share this video and hopefully we'll schedule something in the future that everybody can be prepared to get on and maybe take part in. So let me get myself squared away over here on Facebook so I can maybe see a better way to answer some questions here. Feel free to ask some questions, but the two questions that I wanted to attack from my Smooth Jazz Saxophone Lessons page on Facebook that I saw was some people wanted me to explain how I use the major pentatonic in making the saxophone sing a little more. Want me to maybe explain some more of that. And okay. I see that we got a live chat here. This is my first time, y'all. Excuse me for being a little bit slow. I want to talk about how I use that, as well as I want to talk about building your tone a little bit too. Those are two questions that's been coming up quite regularly. And I also want to know if you guys can hear me well. If you can't hear me well, definitely let me know while I'm trying to get set up where I can see comments a little better over here. And I can't see who the one person is up here, but hey, thanks for joining me. I'm new to this, as you can see. Okay, I see my live feed here. I need to make this quiet. Okay, I think I got that. Straight. Okay. I don't see anything in the chat. And so I definitely will keep looking at the chat over here so I can answer any more questions that come. All right, so let's talk about the major pentatonic scale. And I want to use C major right now because C major is, no flats, no sharps. So for those of you who, I don't know what levels we're dealing with right now. So I'm just going to start with the C major scale. I'm going to start with low C right now, meaning we start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's C, to D, to E, to F, to G, to A, to B, to C. Now, if you're having any problems with what I just did so fast, check out my playlist. Go to course 1. I got 4 courses up right now. The 4th course is more advanced. I'm starting to get into that now. But go into those courses and get your basics straight, with your scales, what we're talking about now, how to put the saxophone together, so many different things. So anyway, the C major scale is this. And if we did it an octave higher, okay, that's our C major scale. Now, if you count the first C, which if we use middle C or low C as 1, the major pentatonic scale is 1, 2, 3. First 3 notes, C, D, E. And then we got 5, which is G, 6, which is A, and then we're back to the octave, which is C. That is the C major pentatonic scale. And some of my lessons that I give, I also refer to you knowing if you're playing it right is if you can play that My Girl lick. If you can get that, that means that you're playing it correctly. All right. So I see I got some more people on now. Can y'all hear me pretty good? Is everything good? Because I have no way of knowing right now. I just went live out of the blue. Haven't ever done this this way. So just let me know if you can't hear me or if anything's go wrong. So we got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 octave. And from that, you can make the saxophone sing a lot by just using that. So I I talked to in my lessons about how to just use this and then maybe resolve. Like one way you could do is resolve on the one or the eight is an easy way to end an idea. Um, the five seems to be well sometimes. So I'm gonna play the whole thing and I'm gonna come back down to a one. No, I'm gonna come back down to a five. Let's do that. So I'm gonna come down to a G. So that G allowed me to resolve literally playing the scale. The scale is so musical. And so one of the things that I was telling people about improvising and trying to make the saxophone sing is play between your major scale, between that and your major pentatonic. If you mix those things together and resolve, you're gonna make musical ideas without really even trying. So this time I'm gonna walk up from my first five notes so I can play like I'm playing my major scale. And then I'm gonna basically take that G to that A to that C so I can like combine a major pentatonic idea to this. Literally running scales, right? So now I'm gonna let that C be my resolution, which is home. Your first note is always a good note to stop an idea on. So now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to make it sing a little more. Like, how would a singer play it? Would a singer play those ideas like playing a scale? Like, would a singer do that? Not really. Not a soulful singer. A soulful singer wouldn't do that. A soulful singer might slow down and put a little bit more oomph into it, a little more feeling like. Making sense, everybody? Use the chat. Let me know if this is making sense. And again, if you have any other questions, even outside what I'm talking about, let me know. So, because I'm addressing the major pentatonic question that I've been getting about how to make the major pentatonic work a little more for you. Because some people are watching the lessons and that they are getting it, but I guess that they're not crossing over into that soulful side. So, before I go further, let me say this: you can't make something sound like it comes from your heart if it's not yet in you. So sometimes we try to be soulful and we try to make this thing sing when we haven't mastered how to play the scale. I mean, it sounds elementary, but it will get you every time. If you still having problems playing a major scale, then you need to go back and work on playing the major scale and go back to my course one. All this stuff is free, guys. So, there's no reason why you can't go and grab these basics, because all I'm doing is giving you some basic things, and then I'm building upon those things to eventually show you how to play songs in a greater way. And like course four, I'm adding more things than these, like the bebop scale, the minor pentatonic, not the minor pentatonic, the melodic minor scale, some other stuff that you can add that just kind of add a little different kind of spice to it, little colors. So you got to get these scales in you. You should be able to play the major scale in every key. If you can't do that, that's where you need to start. Now, learning them in all keys is one thing, but getting comfortable in some of these keys, that's fine. Like I would practice all my keys, or maybe I practice 2 or 3 keys a day. Keys meaning scales, and then keep switching up so I can keep touching them. Because if you keep touching them, they're gonna get in you. Then it's gonna be easy for you to make it sound more soulful because you're not struggling with the basics. The basics is in you. Now you can try to tap into what's in your heart and to allow what's in your heart to come out, which is you singing through the saxophone. Same thing with your major pentatonic. So, and you should know it well enough. If you miss a note like I did a few times, you can say, "Oh, oh, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong." You should be reviewing it enough to where you can catch it quickly, get it in you. Sometimes I'm not as fluid, and I'm not making excuses for messing up right now. I'm not as fluid when I've not practiced as much. So as long as I've been playing, it still requires me to touch this instrument and keep reviewing things that I'm teaching you now. So you want to make it soulful. First of all, number one, the major pentatonic. You want to get it in you. Practice it to the point that you don't have to think about it. Number two, you want to make sure that you're able to combine your major pentatonic and your major scale together for ideas, because there's so many things you're going to be able to do if you can do that. Let's talk about Amazing Grace, for example. Here's the melody. Let me play it like this. Now that's the melody, right? What's some small things I can do before I even get into major pentatonic and major scale things? Well, one thing I can do is I can control my vibrato, and I can decide when to add a little bit of more tremolo to my voice, should I say, up here. And I can decide when should I keep it straight. So, or if I want a more straight tone, then I could do this. Not bad. People sing that way. But if you want a soulful or more smooth jazz thing to that, you're going to want to put some vibrato in there. So vibrato, for those of you who don't know, my thumb is my bottom lip or my bottom jaw, for example, right? You basically lower it and it makes the pitch flat, and you bring it back up and it brings your pitch back to where you started. So you kind of go like, and you control it. So one way I tell people to practice it is practice it very strictly at first, because when you're singing, it's not going to be strict. When you're singing through the instrument, it's not going to be strict. It's going to be kind of how you feel it. But to get a control of it, you might want to do quarter notes first time, like. And then you might want to practice it with eighth notes. Just so you can get control of it, right? Then you might want to go 16ths, 1 E and 2 E and So that's how you can get some control over it, right? Once you get control over it, you can make it be more authentic to a singer when you play. You practice it that way so you can practice it in a better way, but then you want to make it authentic to a singer. So if I was playing Amazing Grace, I would use different speeds of vibrato. I would use my straight tone as well to create a more soulful sound, like so. See, I use different vibrato speeds. One person to listen to that's a master of this is Kirk Whalum. Check Kirk Whalum out. Kirk Whalum can play a lot of fancy and crazy things, but one thing Kirk is known for is killing you with his soulfulness. He's one of my favorite saxophone players because he can do so little, but do so much. And, you know, when making music, it should touch people. People should remember that, yeah, you got killer chops, that's nice, but they should remember what they felt from the song. They should remember how you made them feel more than, oh, you're such a killer saxophone player. You got a lot of killer saxophone players, but in the moment of someone hearing you play, you want them to get the idea or to get the essence of the song that you're presenting. That's most important. And then if greater chops come out, great. But if not, it's not about that. It's not about me going. You can't even tell I'm playing Amazing Grace anymore. You just hear me going off. There's a time for that. But at first, can we set the tone? Now, back to major pentatonic and your major scale to add to that melody. I can add so much more to that melody to make it soulful beyond my vibrato at this point. I can start to add my scalular ideas to it, right? So the melody again is that was no vibrato or nothing. That was just vibrato. There was no vibrato on that. That was just straight. Now, what can I do scalular wise to add to it? See that? All I added was I was supposed to go the sound AG, but I decided to go. I decided to go from C to B A G. That's what I mean in my courses when I talk about a scalular idea. I didn't go for something that was hard to come up with. I used something that I've already been playing, which is my major scale. So if I add major scale ideas that sound like a person singing, or in my mind, if I could sing and say, how could I sing? Or if you try an idea, how can I make that idea sing? Well, if you do that, then you're gonna make it sound a little more soulful, and you're gonna have ways to improv or to add to a simple melody in smooth jazz or gospel the same way. So again, vibrato and a scalular idea to that melody. See, that was not a part of the melody, but you can add things that still keeping that melody as your base, as far as like what's in the pocket of what you should be doing, and then you can add scalular idea in between, like a drummer does. A drummer would look for holes in a song to do a roll versus do rolls everywhere. We could do the same way with the melody. Where's somewhere we can slide something. Still not seeing anything in the chats, so I guess nobody's chatting at the moment or having any questions at the moment. So I'm still new to this. Again, I'm addressing a couple of questions right now on this live that I decided to do at the last minute. So that's scalular. Now, if what I tell you to do is combine what you've been practicing a lot of time as a beginner person who's been improvising, or someone that's even been more skilled at it, but you want to make more solid ideas that people can follow. These are easy go-tos that you can do, and you can build upon these to do more complicated things like even chromatics and things of that nature. So, or arpeggios and stuff. So now I'm going to take that major scale and I'm going to add that major pentatonic in there. Now, but I'm going to do it the way I started to do it. Right there. Major pentatonic. The major pentatonic in this key was C, D, E, G, A, C. So instead of going amazing grace, I went amazed. There go that soulfulness. That was a piece of the major pentatonic scale. I just started on G. I didn't start on C I didn't go C, D, E, G, A, C. I just did G, A, C, cut in half. Because this melody that we're using, Amazing Grace, it starts on G and it goes to C. Right? That's the melody. But I went. So now I just put two ideas together. So I hope that really helped you guys out. See how simple it is to experiment and how simple it is to think about the basics of what you're practicing, how to make this something soulful that you can use, something that'll be tasteful. Okay. I want to add one more thing to this soulfulness. There's little trills that singers use that's like grace notes. And in the key of E flat, a good one is basically adding E flat from D. So how would I use that little trill? I might would go. Okay, so I showed you that. I got that in my courses. You can find that. You can see it. Check out my playlist. I got them going. Course 4 is up right now. So now, outside of me telling you about that, let me show you how would I use some of this stuff in just playing randomly right now. So I'm trying not to think about it so much. Let me try. It's hard to play and not think about it. Try to think about what you're doing and not just play from your heart. So I did some other things besides what I told you, but I tried to demonstrate some of those things so you can see how it would translate into sounding like a singer. Because to me, the soulfulness is the singer quality, and it's also sometimes that bluesy quality that you can add to stuff when you use like a blues scale or something as well. That blues scale, I think I put that in course 3, so you can check out like how to work on that. But anyway, that's where some of this stuff is coming from. This sounds so soulful, sounds so gospel-y, if that's a word. All right, so I saw yep, Judge Justin. He says, yeah, the saxophone is a secondary singer. And I'm gonna put up here, so true! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. It is so true. If you can't make it sing, it kind of loses some of its power as a saxophone. And I used to hear a lot of older people say, "Oh, I just love to hear a good sax." When they're talking about that, they're talking about not only the tone of it, but that soulfulness, that singer quality of it, and that's what we want to get at. So speaking of that, you can have the notes. Another question that I was getting on my page, my Facebook page, Smooth Jazz Saxophone Lessons, was talking about tone. Tone is so important because all these notes without good tone sounds crazy. Case in point. You gotta have tone. Sorry I had to hurt your ears, but you must have good tone. So one of the best things I think you can do to help build your tone is decide what embouchure positioning you want to use, number one. Number two, I think you should work on long tones because long tones will help you build some of the muscles here that assist you in playing and help you develop some good tone along with breathing properly and things like that. So there's a darker tone that people like to use where they actually curl both lips and play like that. Versus where most people put their 2 front teeth on the top, a darker tone is this. That's not an embouchure that I use. But someone like Quamon Fowler, who plays gospel as well as jazz, or like traditional jazz, he's an awesome player. He uses that embouchure and he sounds amazing. Another embouchure you could use is where you kind of put your 2 front teeth on the top, right? You let your lips curl around it, Of course, curl around the mouthpiece, but you kind of put your bottom lip halfway curled in, halfway out. A lot of jazz artists, like traditional jazz, use this. I don't know if you can hear a difference, but I like that tone. It's not as focused, but it's a little more mellow to me. It's like it's not as dark as the two lip things, two lip curls, but it's a little more mellow, and yet it still kind of cuts through a little bit. And then you have my favorite that I would like to talk about is where you keep the two front teeth on top and you literally curl this bottom one all the way up, like so. To me, it gives you a more focused sound. It gives you a more brighter tone, like a lot of modern sound players. Um, you can achieve playing well with any of these, but I think you need to decide what feels most comfortable, what sounds the best to you. Stick with it and develop those muscles to support that. Then, after that, you can work out your breathing, you can work out your posture with your long tones. Um, there's many ways to practice long tones, but one exercise that takes a while and it can be boring, but it works, is you can start with middle C and literally, like, let's just say, play two slow measures of C, because this is going to be like, this is easy to have a good tone towards the mid part of the instrument. And then you want to go down a half step to B, do the same thing. And then you want to go up from C to C sharp and do the same thing. So you'll start gradually getting higher in long tones and you'll gradually get lower in long tones. And these low notes will keep you grounded in your mind as to, like, how full should you be making those high note sound. So if I was doing a faster version of it so you can understand what I'm talking about, here's my C. So I tried to show you C down to B. Then when you go back up, you've already played C, so now you need to go to C sharp. You've already played B when you go down, so now it'll be flat. And if you do this for a long time, I'm going to play a few notes so you can see what it sounds like. Now, I would hold them longer than that. And I also would be listening. Does your tone drop? Because it's going to drop. It's going to move. It's going to waver. And your thing is to be like, try to keep it as steady as possible. Straight tone, no vibrato, nothing. You're just trying to keep good. You're focusing on trying to sound in tune and keep it from dropping and have good, solid tone. So if that is something you do towards the beginning of your practices, it'll help warm you up. It'll help you focus on that. And you'll be developing these muscles along the way because they're going to get tired. And if you feel that little, like, where it's hard to play because your lip is really getting, like, feel like it's getting not only tired, but hard to deal with your teeth, take a break. Take a break. Come back to it. Don't push through that. It's probably not a great idea. All right. So those were the two things that I really wanted to, like, address that I saw people talking about. And I thought they were very good foundational, even if you're not a beginner, things to work on that's going to really help your playing. And so I'm going to see if does anybody else have any other saxophone questions. I only seen one comment so far. Haven't seen any other questions. So I'm going to just kind of give you a second, see if there's something else you might want to address or ask about smooth jazz, to ask about gospel, soulful playing. And if not, then I'm going to call my first live a day and maybe let somebody know the next time that I'm going to actually go live so we can be prepared, and maybe there can be some questions that you might want to ask in advance or something. But in the meantime, stay tuned for the next smooth jazz saxophone lesson that's coming up next week. I'm in course number 4 now. I'm doing 4 courses total, and those courses set the foundation for me to do more things that's not course related later, because I want to always refer people back to the courses to get straight if they're lost. So if I do a simple lesson, I can say, hey, if you're lost, go back here. If I'm doing a more advanced lesson, then I can keep people who are more advanced up with whatever lesson I choose to do. But the courses are going to set the tone for you. Um, yeah. So Justin says, I was thinking practicing with a tuner could help a lot. Justin, I think that is a great idea, because every note you play, for one, is not in tune. And you're probably not going to play every note in complete 440 tune. But if you actually take time to do that sometimes, it definitely should increase your chances of being more in tune without thought. But that definitely takes some dedication and some discipline. Um, when I was first developing more, I just wanted to make sure the saxophone was in tune, and I wanted to make sure that I spent more time actually practicing my instrument. And then if I had some more free time, because I was young, I was like 13, without not a whole lot to do, staying in the country dirt road, dead end road with nowhere to go. So had a lot of time to practice. Then I might would approach something like that more with some downtime outside of something that I really want to practice. But but if you're disciplined enough and you got the time and you want to go ahead and make that a part of your daily regimen, hey, it's gonna only make you better, because it's gonna tighten your ear up, because you're constantly gonna be looking at that tuner, testing yourself, knowing when you need where you need to be in tune. So I would say make sure you get this thing in tune first, and then try that. But that's to me, I would rather work on other stuff and come back to that, because your ear's gonna get better as you play anyway. But yeah, it'll definitely help out, Justin. Anybody else got any more questions? And if you're just getting on, we addressed the major pentatonic. We addressed the major scale. We addressed talking about tone. Those were 2 things that people were asking me for my Facebook page group that I want to address. So definitely you can go back and check this video out and see what we did, what we talked about, so they can help you out. I think I saw a couple of other questions come through. Let's see. Let's see here. Jackson says, what's your best tip for soloing on the soprano? That is a good, exciting, because I have a new discovery answer for that question. So, for those of you who follow my page, there was a video that I posted that I did an interview with smooth jazz gospel saxophonist Merlon Divine. He primarily plays the soprano saxophone. He just switched to I believe a Yamaha Custom Z, but he was playing the same P. Mauriat System 76, and he was one of the people that definitely helped convince me to change this when I was looking for a stronger, better, something to suit me better soprano. One thing he said, which made so much sense, and since I've been doing it now on gigs, it changed the game. So he basically said, which also another saxophonist, he's kind of Native American and black and something. Marion Meadows, he's a soprano saxophone. You hear it in his music as well. They basically said people don't take advantage of the low notes of what this has to offer, because it's already so high. So he says, primarily when he's writing music, when he's soloing, he's trying to stay within low B flat, which is the lowest note on the instrument. I had to figure out my chromatic for a second. I got lost. He says he tried to go from low B flat to G, to mid G, mainly because in that range, the soprano sounds very strong and very mellow. And then when he wants to put an exclamation on his soloing, or he wants to take it up, then he starts to go above that register to really like press his points. So he spends more time building with simpler ideas. And if you ever heard Milan play, he can also play a lot of jazzy things too. And he's so smooth with it, you almost think he's not doing as much stuff as he's doing. But I learned that when you exercise that, this thing really shines. So to answer your question is, what's your best tip for solo on a soprano? Make more use of the lower notes. Bring your climax yourself up more to the high notes, because this thing is so stinking high that it'll sound like a kazoo if you push it too hard. You got to be, another thing too, you have to be careful with soprano. You can't approach it like a tenor. You cannot approach it like an alto. You have to make sure that you approach it with not overblowing and just being careful, because she'll fight back. She'll give you some resistance. So that's my tip. Make more use of the lower notes and slowly climax your solo up a little more, so it can be a gradual thing. Like you had a good setting, it was mellow, it was powerful, and then when you got to them super high notes where everybody's looking at you kind of like this, at this point they don't care, because they're like, "Ooh, yes, baby, give it to me, give me them high notes, give me that scale." So let me see here. What's something like, and I can play real easy. So I'm gonna stay in the key of B flat, for example. Oh, I'm gonna play, you ever Ribbon in the Sky, for example. I used to play it like this, where I would already start off thinking like an alto saxophone player. I was already going there from the start. But then I learned from thinking like that, making more use of the low notes. When the rhythm is right, when the band is right, hold it down with a track. You can start off like this without. You can go way more chill with this instrument. Oh, I'm in the wrong key. Yeah, cut the wrong notes. But that's so much more smoother. That's so much more like setting the tone of like, ooh, that boy can play. He about to break it down. He about to break it down. And so by the time, Ripping the Sky has a few verses that are very similar, very repetitious. By the time you get up to the by the time you want to take it up to that range, you can be pushing the song a little more as the song is elevating and it's getting more traction. So yeah, that to me, that's one of the greater things you can do for a solo on a soprano. Again, long story short, hope I didn't take too long to answer that question, but make more use of your lower notes and put that exclamation mark with your higher notes as you climax the solo. All right, so Rick G, what articulation exercises would you recommend? Articulation. Articulation makes me think about tonguing and how I phrase things, and it makes me think jazz. And because I like to steal from jazz versus, play from thinking from a more of a traditional jazz player perspective on articulation, let me try to think of how would I answer this like a singer. I would practice articulation if I was a beginner. Let's start there. I would practice articulation with finding small things that I could do to, like my major pentatonic, since I'm building everything around that. I would try to find ways to make that thing sing in every mode. And when I say every mode, like degree number 1, C to C, which is the scale itself. Mode number 2, the major pentatonic scale from D to D, but only using major pentatonic notes. But I would try to make it like a singer would go. That's yeah. Da ba da da da. I would do simple things like that. So here's one. You can take it. You could take it descending. you know, practicing it slow. Da ba da 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 da. I said you hear what I'm doing? Ta 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 da da da. I'm putting a little rhythm behind it. That little rhythm is making it sing. So descend from D to D down. You see where I'm going with this? It's making it sound almost like I'm building a solo. Check it out. See what I'm saying? I sound like I'm soloing, and I'm literally putting a little bit of rhythm in my major pentatonic, changing degrees, and it's making it, that little bit of rhythm is making me want to do vibrato, and it's making me want to make it sing. So another way I would say to do that, even if you didn't do it that way, in your mind, think about how could I sing a major pentatonic scale? How have I heard others sing it? And if you can't think of anything, that means you need to go study some singers, and you need to study some Kurt Whalum for sure, because he definitely has the singer approach. You need to listen to some Dave Cars. Dave makes that thing sing. He's very melodic. And some of y'all might not like Kenny G. Kenny G can play his tail off. I've heard him in concert. I've seen what he does. He's very good with melodies, and he makes those melodies sing. Listen to some Kenny G. See if you can get some ideas from that, and see how you could translate it, because you basically got to take this stuff into what I call the lab. You got to take this stuff in and see how it speaks to you. See what inspiration you get from others, and see how you could translate it in the basics. You always want to build from the basics, because you can do more complicated things later. But if you don't have those basics under you, you have nowhere to spring upward on. You have, it's like a trampoline. You need this trampoline. So that's what I would say. Jackson said, thank you so much, man. I just got a System 76 and I'm already doing jazz solos on it. Yeah, this thing is good. One thing about the System 76 is that it has a larger bore. And now my friend Milan says that the Yamaha Z is superior to it. He started with Yamaha. Maybe it's a preference. Maybe it is. I don't know. But this thing has a larger bore on the inside of it, and it allows me to put more air through it. And I want, as an alto player, I wanted to be able to put a little more air through it. And I noticed that the straight neck also allowed me to put more air through it, and it made me very happy for a while. But then my straight neck, I noticed, took away from some of the tone because it was so bright. So I went back to the curved neck, and I had a brighter mouthpiece, but then I felt like I was a little bit too bright, and I felt like the tip opening, because I want to put more air in it, was more air than what I really was comfortable with. So I went back to the HR star with Jody Jazz, so I could kind of like not be as bright, but I got the power ring from Jody Jazz that gives me more projection, which I like with soprano, because I want to feel like I'm cutting through, but yet it keeps me a little bit more dark, because this is a dark sounding horn as well, and it just kind of makes me feel more free on soprano, to not feel so out of order, not being on my alto. So yeah, I think you're gonna definitely like the System 76. For nothing else, not only the fact that it's a great horn, but that the fact that they allow more air to get into it, and it don't cost as much money as them daggone Selmers. I love Selmers, but boy, you know, $3,000 versus 5,000 or six or even seven or something. I'm not sure if it's quite that high, but man, I ain't paying that kind of money. Just do the job. Dwayne says, I just got in order to make the melody sing. Do you need to change your embouchure or throat in any way? Possibly, because if you're playing, I've seen a lot of people have issues and they're squeaking and stuff like that, and they figured out what embouchure they want to use, but they're playing on the tip of the mouthpiece. Let me see if I can get closer to the tip. And they can't quite get the sound they're looking for, because it's not bad, but it's just not comfortable. And I used to say little things like, hey, put more of the mouthpiece in your mouth. Like, you don't got to swallow it, but maybe get halfway, see what happens. And most of the time when they went halfway, their tone would get fuller. It'd be easier for them to play. And they'd be like, wow, I never thought about that. So I think changing your embouchure is a preference. If you're comfortable with a particular embouchure at this point, I would ride it out. I would keep doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't feel that I needed to change it just because there were other options. Now, if I tried those options and I was like, whoa, I really sound 10 times better on this rolled up lip, not completely curled, but not out thing that a lot of jazz artists are doing. I'm really digging that sound. Then train yourself to do it. You have to put in the work. Um, but I wouldn't say you need it to make the melody sing. I doubt it. Throat wise, throat came into play for me more with playing tenor. Tenor was a different approach. When I had to play with a beach band for about 3 years and I had to play tenor, because I didn't like playing tenor a lot because I liked my alto more, but tenor was definitely a different approach. And you had to lay back a little more, not push as much, but you had to bring that air, and it just felt, I don't know how to best explain it, but it just felt throaty. Other tenor players would tell me you have to play more with your throat. Now, how do you do that? I know what you don't want to do is you don't want to think throaty means when you play, because people kind of do that singing thing to kind of get that that rock distortion sound on it when they're playing. But um I kind of figured out along the way to let more air through and to push a little different that feels throaty. I wish it was a better way that I could explain that. But I brought that up to say I was still playing tenor, soprano, and alto in a singer way with soul without changing what I was doing at first, until I developed a different approach for tenor to get a fuller tenor sound. And a lot of it was me relaxing more. And I mean, I could even tell when I was playing tenor, I was letting more air through my throat where it would expand some. So I wish I could explain that more, but simply put, no, I don't think you need to change your throat. I think you need to make sure you're breathing well, that you're filling up your tank full of air, and that you're able to control it, which long tones help you do, and you're exercising a good smooth, good working armature that's not letting a lot of air escape from the sides. I think if you're doing that, you're gonna develop, what you need. Good questions, y'all. Real good questions. This was kind of fun. I didn't think doing lives would be fun. I just thought it was something that you needed to do to kind of get to people, get to know people, and continue to see how you could better serve people. And it was just like one of those things that you needed to do because you needed to be accessible to people. But I didn't really think that it could be a fun thing to get up here and just talk saxophone. So I'm having a good time with y'all. This is cool. This is cool. Yeah, no problem, Dwayne. Good questions. Can't believe it. We've been up here 48 minutes. Wow. And this was totally random. I didn't even plan this. Anybody else got any questions before I get ready to call it off? Um, Again, man, for y'all who just got on, what reeds am I using on a soprano? I like using Legere. So I use Legere for soprano. I use Legere for alto and tenor. Um, I do have, let me see, I do have some tenor reeds that I'm digging. That's actually wooden reeds that I was given one time as a gift when I did a jazz concert, and Diodario had gave me some reeds. I think they were some jazz selects or something. I don't know. Can't even find them right now, but I keep them for a rainy day in my cabinet down here. I need to clean it out so I can find it. But I like signature. I didn't like the studio as much. I didn't like the classical. I used to use the newer ones, American custom, American something. Um, but I did that when I had my system, not my system, but my Super Action 80 Series 3 Alto, and it made my Super Action 80 sound more like my Cannonball now, before I even thought about ever getting the Cannonball. But then when I got this Cannonball saxophone, it already had more body. That reed to me gave more body to that particular saxophone. So now that I have a lot of body in this saxophone as far as just sound with that fat neck, I went back to my signature and it kind of fit me just right. So I use signature. The reason I use them, I really got into using them when I was playing with beach bands and things like that, where you play a lot outside in the summer, because wooden reeds would just get so funny. If it was hot, they would waver and have me squeaking and sounding unprofessional sometimes, and they were hard to keep wet sometimes. It just was, or you get a box of 5 and you pay all this money, and only 2 of them are good, and you keep working the other 3, and some of them never get to the place of what you're looking for. So I got tired of all of that. So the Legere Reeds, they're very consistent. When I say consistent, you pull it out. Once you get used to these things, you pull it out of the box, and you can play. If it's cold, you can play. If it's hot, you can play. Um, they last an extremely long time. So that one reed is $30, but it's gonna last for like 6 months for me, practicing gigs and all. Like sometimes I don't even realize when it's starting to like go bad. It just kind of goes bad, and if you're not really paying attention, you miss it. And so you can just swap it out, get another one, and you're good. It starts to lose a little body or something like that. But until it goes bad, it stays consistent like a new reed. No fouling, no sucking on it, none of that mess. No dealing with the weather. So I am definitely a big fan of it. I was a little bit afraid of doing it before, but Marcus Anderson, I talked to him about it. He's endorsed by them. I had a chance to play with him in Jacksonville, North Carolina one time when he came to a concert, and we were talking and stuff. And I was like, man, those reeds really are all that? Because I'm kind of scared, man, to let go of my wood and my Frederick Hemke reeds I used to love to play. And he told me, he said, look, man, they last me about 6 months. And I'm like, but you, Marcus, in my mind, I'm like, you're Marcus Anderson. You tour, you record, you do all these things. One reed can't last you that long. He said it lasted him that long. So that's the kind of reeds I play, and that is why. So Dave says, I like that saxologist. Yes, sir. Says, I love your videos. What's my thoughts about pushing air through the horn? I've watched a video about breathing and breath support. My thoughts about pushing air through the horn is tone related to me, most importantly. Let's talk about soprano. Some people really love to put a lot of air through, whether they can support that air or not. Like you said, breath support. I think if you practice long tones, you're gonna have the support. You're gonna know how to push this air in here in a way that's gonna work well for you or not. But what you learn quickly, like even with soprano, is overblowing destroys your tone. When I say overblowing, like if you're out playing with the band and you can't really hear yourself well, and you start to sound not your best. Your endurance gets off with your lips. You're not enjoying yourself as much, and it's just not as good all the way around. So one thing I've trained myself to do is even when I can't hear myself as well, I try to keep in my mind at what range of loudness should I play to keep my tone and to keep my endurance so I can play as long as I need to play. And what I got to be thinking about to support that from my diaphragm and when I take breaths. So, like with the soprano, even when I climax the high notes, I don't go like I would on the alto. I'm going like I'm taking my time to hit those notes clean. I'm taking my time to make sure that they don't get flat and sharp, because this thing can be funny because of me just pushing too much air or not pushing enough air. I focus on trying to be clean and letting that air flow steady to support what I'm doing, to make sure that it's cool. I hope that makes sense to what I'm saying. So my thoughts about I never want to sacrifice my tone over blowing. I never want to sacrifice my endurance over blowing. I mean, I could have a bad night of hating that I can't hear myself as well, but it's best to be professional and just push through it and give good quality tone, because that's what the people are going to be hearing, and that's what they're going to need more from you, and that's what's going to help keep you sane while you're not hearing well. Hope that answered your question. Not, let me know, Dave. Saxologist. I like that. I like that. Anybody else got any more questions? Okay, Dave has another question. I get that gurgling sound after 10 minutes or so. I play Legere Reeds and the same Cannonball you have. Okay, the gurgling sound. In other words, a whole lot of spit in your mouthpiece, possibly. Um, I don't know what to say about that one, my brother. Um, I used to sometimes when that would happen to me, I didn't like it, and so I would just kind of in between, try to push it down like without making a sound. I try to push it down, even if I was playing a solo or something, or I would still try to push the air through a little more to get that spit to kind of get out of my way. But yeah, man, I don't know quite what to say about that. It can be aggravating, but yeah. I wonder too, depending on too maybe how you're positioning as well. Because sometimes when I'm doing more of this stuff, people love the saxophone in the air thing. Um, it can happen a little more then. So, maybe if you're one of those guys that do a lot of that, maybe you might want to tone some of that down to stop some of the spit. I don't know. Hey, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you're having a good time with those Legere Reeds and that Cannonball. I just kind of wish I might would have. I wanted one brand new. I kind of wish I'd have got me one used, so I paid a little bit less for it because it seems like the older ones are just as good as this one is. Cannonball does a good job. I'm so surprised. I passed on them like 20 years ago. Here I am back. Got rid of my good old saxophone that is worth more than this one is probably now. But this had the tone I was really looking for. And I didn't even know I was looking for it. So, how do you connect phrases to improvise? One of my easiest answers is this. I think you should want to call and answer yourself. So, when I say call and answer yourself, play an idea. Ba da da. Answer yourself. Ba da. Ba da da. Answer. Ba da. And it could be built off of what the call was. So let me see if I can find how to play what I just did. So I'm going to work on calling and answering myself, and I'm going to go a little bit slower, demonstrate it. Oh, wrong. I got to figure out what key I'm in. Okay, I'm in the key of F on the soprano sax. Let me get that straight. I just started playing random notes to what my idea was, but I didn't know what scale it was. That's a good example about why you should have your foundations of your scales and pentatonics memorized in your heart, because it's going to be real hard to do this if you don't even know what notes you can use without, without thinking. So I don't want to think. I just want to be able to feel what I want to do to call and answer myself. Last part wasn't so cool, but I tried to deviate a little more, try to make it sound a little more, because I was calling and answering myself so much that it sounded like a melody. So that is a good thing to use in improvising, because if you can make melodies, then from those melodies you can add things to them like more scalar ideas, more major pentatonics, and you can make them more interesting. See what I mean? I added some major pentatonic. I added some more scalar ideas to that call and answer that I made a melody out of. So the question was, how do you connect phrases to improvise? I try to call and answer myself, which a lot of times I close my eyes and I'm trying to focus on what I'm playing and I'm trying to listen to the music and see what makes sense from my heart with the music and what I'm able, what I understand as notes that I can play at the moment to what makes sense to call and answer myself to make it all work together. I don't think about chords. I don't think about like in jazz where they're making so many changes. You kind of got to know what the changes are so you can know what you can play. But a lot of smooth jazz and gospel, unless we have moments of passing chords or something that's different, we're kind of like in the same vibe where we could keep playing with the same set of notes and not mess up. So with that in mind, you don't have to think about that kind of stuff. You can just kind of listen, call and answer yourself in a way that makes sense to the music. And to me, that allow you to connect phrases together. You know, and then of course, you're gonna have some things that are muscle memory. That's what's gonna come out. Things that you normally play, just like wrestlers have signature moves, you're gonna have some signature riffs in particular keys or some maybe all keys that you're gonna do because they're really in your heart and they're gonna come out. And to me, that's how you can connect a lot of your phrases. Hope that makes sense for you, brother. Hmm. Should have brought me some water. Starting to get a little bit parched. I didn't think I was gonna be up here for an hour. Still having fun. Any more questions, guys? All right. Well, if there being no more questions, I'm gonna well, okay, down to one more question. So I'll answer this question and then I'm gonna call it a day. And again, y'all, thanks for jumping on with me. I appreciate this. So it's good to know that people actually want to hang out with me. Um, soprano is so hard to play in tune. Any advice on mouthpieces? Yes, I think you really need to get hip to um, tip openings. Um, there's different parts of the mouthpiece. Um, thanks, Broke Brother. I like that name. I think there's other parts you have to worry about to a mouthpiece. But for me, the soprano that got me most comfortable is when I realized that I thought, for example, I thought I wanted a more open tip open to let more air in. And what I did not realize is the way I push my reed slightly past the mouthpiece, I kind of close it up anyway. And it gives me a little bit of a brighter tone that I've always had a practice of doing. With that being said, if the mouthpiece, even when I push it up, is very wide, I have to put more air into it than what I really want, even though I thought that's what I needed. And I came to find out that I liked having a easy way to blow, but having a free blowing experience with that. So, and that's the way I started with the I guess the standard mouthpiece that came with my saxophone. So I didn't realize that I still really love that. So once I started getting my mouthpieces to meet that need as far as tip opening, one thing I like about Jody Jazz is that all of his mouthpieces are very free blowing and they're full sounding from the bottom of the instrument to the top of the instrument. So I don't lose anything with you know by the way he designs his mouthpieces. So once I figured that out, it really helped me develop a better soprano saxophone tone, and it helped me control it more because I didn't have to compete with all that air that I wasn't comfortable for, thinking I needed more open tip to put more air in it. And for me, that's not quite what I needed. I just needed to find a mouthpiece that was more free blowing and find the right tip size that fit me best. So my suggestion would be look in that direction, tip opening. And if you're a guy like me that likes free blowing instruments where you can feel like you put some, it projects more and it gives you full tone from top to bottom, Jody Jazz mouthpieces, they're excellent. They're excellent. The second thing about that, you need to know if you want more of a brighter or a darker tone for your soprano. Soprano's already bright, so that's why I went back to a darker mouthpiece, but not super dark, because I don't like super dark mouthpieces. I like the body of a dark mouthpiece, but I like to still have a little cut through, a little bit of brightness. So the HR Star was perfect for me. Kurt Willem, I think, actually uses that mouthpiece, and that power ring, it helps you project more. So you may not need projection, but it may still be good for you to use something like that. It's free blowing, and the tip opening has the right size. So I think that's my suggestion on it. Theo Wani has some good mouthpieces. There's a lot of good mouthpiece makers, but to me, Jody Jazz gives you quality, gives you free blowing. They allow you, if you actually order straight through them, they'll let you like order a couple of sizes, and like they'll only bill you for one, right? But they'll send you a couple of sizes if you actually call them, and you could try those two. And long as you send the one that you don't want back in the amount of time that you're supposed to, and send it back in the box that they give you, then they won't charge you for both mouthpieces. But they've sent me as many as 3 mouthpieces. I think I paid for one. I paid, like, I had 2 different sets. I think I had like the Super Jet I want to try, and I think I want to try something else. And so I didn't know if I needed a size 7 or 8 or 6 or 7, well, what, 5 or whatever, 5-star. I tried some different stuff, and they allowed me to try it in person at home, send back what I need to send back. So hey, give it a try. Or go to your local Sam Ash and try some things out. Berg Larson has some good reeds. I mean, mouthpieces as well. I used to love those. Matter of fact, that's what I'm using on my tenor now, Berg Larson mouthpiece. All right, broke brother. Everybody else, thank you for being on it. I'm good and thirsty and tired now, so I'm gonna call it a day. Looking forward to doing another live with y'all again soon. No problem, man. Thanks for your time, Dave, Dwayne, and like I said, check out whatever level you're on. My courses that I have right now for free on YouTube, courses 1, 2, and 3, they kind of build up from bottom to the top. And right now I'm on the 4th course, which is starting to get. You're welcome, Dave. They're starting to get a little bit more advanced in course 4, and I'm just starting to get to releasing 4. So stay on the lookout. Keep watching. Keep learning. If you're not on my Facebook page, my Facebook Smooth Jazz Saxophone Lessons page, hey, I would love for you to join the family there, where we kind of talk amongst ourselves, and we share there. We ask questions. I put things there as well. So yeah, follow me my other places, TikTok, Instagram. Appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna call it a day. See you next time. Now I got to figure out. You're welcome. I can't even say your name, my brother. I wish I could say it. Or is that I can't even see good. Non. See, I'm so American. I can't say your name right. I'm sorry. I'm so American. Pray for me. Pray for me. Now I got to figure out how to actually cut this thing off. Peace, y'all. Oh, it's Saul. I'm using my wife's phone. Hey, Saul. Have a good one.